I deliberately scored low on the entrance exam so I could hire him as my tutor. But he resented me, believing I was stealing time he should have spent with his childhood sweetheart, Luna Turner. When he found out my university entrance exam scores were 100 points higher than his, he called me a fake, scheming, cruel rich girl who would never know true love. In the end, he murdered me. Yet, even standing before my grave, he warned me, if there's a next life, don't pretend to pity me again, and stop clinging to a love that was never meant for you. Just as he wished, when I was reborn, I didn't ask him to tutor me. He had all the time in the world to work as a dishwasher and server in restaurants with Luna. Evan Min's father, once the school heartthrob, had tragically died in a fire 3 years prior while on duty at a commercial complex. My family owned a restaurant branch in that very complex. To honor his sacrifice, we donated 1,000,000 yuan to his family after the incident. But his mother, overcome with grief, fell ill and was hospitalized. By the time Evan and I both passed the entrance exam to a public high school, his family had exhausted all the firefighters' family allowances and other donations. My mother knew we were in the same advanced class and intended to donate another 1,000,000 yuan to his family. But Evan coldly refused, telling her not to insult people. After that, I came up with a plan. I would deliberately score low on the entrance exam to the point of being last in class, then hire him as a tutor at an exorbitant price. This way, he could maintain his pride while reducing his working hours at the restaurant, giving him more time to care for his mother and study. Yet, in my previous life, he resented me for it. Firstly, he thought I monopolized his tutoring time, preventing him from being with Luna Turner, which led to her falling for a thug from a neighboring school. Secondly, he saw my 100-point higher score as an insult and exploitation. He believed a weak student like me didn't deserve to score higher than him, much less use this opportunity to pursue him. He swore he would never like me, cursing me as a cruel, scheming rich girl who would never find true love. Later, he strived to excel, earning a master's degree from a prestigious university. In his 3rd year of his master's, he secured startup capital and founded a beauty salon company. With his striking good looks, his beauty business quickly flourished, earning him 10,000,000 yuan. Finally, he gathered all his courage to find Luna Turner, who had long lost contact. But Luna was now pregnant with twins by a wealthy businessman 10 years his senior. Compared to that businessman's immense fortune, Evan Min's 10,000,000 yuan was nothing. Deeply hurt, he turned all his hatred on me. He pretended to invite me to his salon for a treatment, then secretly injected poison into my body, disguising my death as a cosmetic accident. My parents wanted justice for me, but when they learned the incident occurred at Evan's company, out of respect for his father, a hero firefighter, they believed the hero's son's explanation. They even allowed him to help organize my funeral. After the funeral, Evan Min even tricked my parents into investing new capital. He stood triumphantly before my grave, boasting, then full of hatred. He warned me that if there was a next life, I shouldn't pretend to be a saint pitying him. He didn't need charity or aid from my family, much less money from them. He declared that my arrogance had killed me, and he felt no shame at all. Perhaps heaven pitied my wrongful death and gave me a second chance at life. This time, I refused to hide my true abilities or harm myself for a despicable person, not even for a second. I wouldn't let him earn another cent from my family, nor would I let him harm me again. Holding my report card, which showed me at the bottom of the class in the 10th grade entrance assessment, I hurried home. Seeing my parents looking much younger than before, I felt as if I had experienced a whole cycle of reincarnation. My mother took the report card, offered me a piece of orange, and said meaningfully, "My precious is back. Eat more vitamin C to boost your immunity, and don't forget your vitamin C pills. Don't forget you were once the top scorer in the high school entrance exam. Don't play the role of a poor student too deeply." I chewed the orange. From today, you don't need to invite Evan Min to tutor me anymore. Next time I take an exam, I won't deliberately score last either. Also, if he ever comes to work at any of our family's restaurants, please ask the manager to refuse him. My mother looked at my father with a puzzled expression. In my previous life, my parents had agreed to let me deliberately score low to help Evan, but this also forced them to endure gossip for a long time. Their daughter, who was the top scorer of the city's high school entrance exam and got into a public high school, became the worst student in the advanced class for 2 years, from 10th to 11th grade. People constantly gossiped that my high school scores were fake, and once in public school, my true nature as a calculating businesswoman was revealed, caring nothing for studies. They said inviting an excellent male student, a top 10 scorer and school heartthrob, to tutor me was merely an excuse to get close, to exchange for good genes to improve the appearance of future generations. They also said that these days, a good match should be a handsome man and a beautiful woman, or at least a balanced pair. Ugly girl-handsome boy pairings only disgusted people, hurting both the eyes and moods of those around them. These words constantly buzzed around my home. But because my family had decided to help the son of a firefighter hero, my parents could only endure it. What's more, I truly immersed myself in the role, even developing some feelings for Evan Min. After all, it's normal for a teenage girl to like a handsome face. Plus, I always wore rose-tinted glasses, seeing him as the son of a firefighter hero, and was influenced by overbearing CEO novels. Each day I encountered his cold face, I fell deeper into those emotions. My mother grew increasingly worried, occasionally reminding me a few times, but I promised her I wouldn't confess before the university entrance exam. Seeing the tears in my mother's eyes as if they were being drawn back, I firmly stated that I wasn't joking. I decided to go to my room to study. No sooner had I finished speaking than the doorbell rang. Auntie Jo, the housekeeper, led Evan Min in. Looking at his cold, 18-year-old face in this life, I just wanted to vomit. But I suppressed it, offering a mocking smile. "I'm sure you feel so demeaned being hired by a rich girl like me, don't you? You can leave now, but I'll still pay you for today. If you're too proud to accept charity, then refuse it. You don't need to come starting tomorrow. Our house may be large, but our kindness has its limits. I'm not in the mood to offer warmth to your cold shoulder anymore." The agonizing sensation of poison being injected into my limbs and organs suddenly replayed in a late-night dream. I jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat, screaming in panic. My mother heard me and rushed into the room to comfort me. "Vivian, what's wrong? Don't be scared, it's just a dream. Dad and I are here to protect you." She gently wiped the sweat from my forehead, soothing me. I looked up at her worried face, hugged her, and whispered, "Mom, from now on, don't let any restaurant in our family or any of our partners hire Evan Min for odd jobs. Don't give him any opportunity to earn money, not even for washing dishes or serving." My mother, confused, asked, "Why has your attitude towards Evan Min changed so much in just one day? Last night when he left, his expression seemed quite strange too. Did you two have a conflict?" I couldn't tell her I had been reborn. That would surely astound her. So I could only explain, "Evan Min has expressed many times that he despises earning money from our family. Initially, when you planned to donate 1,000,000 yuan to his family, he coldly refused, remember. It's the truth." My mother understood, nodding in agreement, but added, "If all our restaurants and partners refuse to hire Evan Min, he might end up working at our rival restaurant, Yuuki. Although that restaurant has a terrible reputation for poor service, it still gets a lot of customers." I nodded. "That's exactly my intention. Since I was reborn, I've decided to seek revenge. First, I need to make Evan Min realize his true place. Then I'll make him suffer so much he won't want to live. Finally, I'll just stand by and watch him die without interfering." Indeed, a week later, Evan Min started working part-time at Yuuki restaurant. At first, he didn't care about being rejected by the previous restaurants because Luna Turner wasn't working there anymore either. The two of them went to Yuuki together. Even though the hourly wage there was 10 yuan lower than other restaurants, he didn't mind. The most important thing was being with Luna. Every afternoon after school, Evan Min would wait for Luna Turner at the zebra crossing opposite the school. They would hold hands, share a single ear of corn, then take the bus together to the restaurant to wash dishes and serve. Evan Min's mother's medical expenses were initially covered only by the tuition my family paid, 5 times the normal rate for a special tutor, to hire him. But hospitalization is a money pit. In less than a month, that money was gone. Evan Min's part-time wage of 13.7 yuan per hour, even if he worked hard for 90 hours a month, would only earn him 1,237.5 yuan. And that money wouldn't be paid until mid-April, which wasn't enough to cover his mother's daily hospital fees and medication. With no other options, he pleaded with the hospital to defer payment for a week, promising to find a way to pay later. His way, was to work overtime, work night shifts, or skip school to work. But his homeroom teacher quickly noticed his unusual behavior and called Evan into the office to ask if he needed any help. In front of the teacher, he could only honestly admit that his family was out of money and his mother urgently needed hospital fees. The homeroom teacher felt genuinely sorry for him. Moreover, he was a top 10 student in his grade, a bright talent. Not wanting to waste such a good student, the homeroom teacher personally donated 1,000 yuan to him and committed to organizing a fundraiser in the class and even the entire grade to help him. This time, Evan Min, though uncomfortable, grudgingly agreed under the pressure of circumstances. During self-study, the QR code for donations circulated to my desk and my deskmate, Lucy Snow. Lucy generously scanned and transferred 200 yuan, then sighed, "I've donated 200 yuan to Evan Min, that's all I can do. That's my breakfast and milk tea money for a whole month, Vivian. Don't laugh at me for being poor if you donate more later." I continued my exam without looking up. "No, I won't donate." Lucy's eyes widened, her voice full of surprise. "Huh. Didn't you secretly hire Evan Min for high-priced tutoring? To be honest, he's practically your teacher. Besides, your family is so rich and kind. Like in the movie Parasite, rich people always have time and energy to show their kindness." She paused for a moment, then awkwardly continued, "Oh, I'm rambling again. Sorry, I shouldn't use morality to bind you. It's just that you've been a bit strange lately, and I couldn't help but be curious." I stopped writing, handed the QR code to the student behind me, and replied to Lucy, "People shouldn't be too kind, or they'll become a holy mother figure that people resent. You don't understand. Sometimes, those who receive help resent those who help them. If I donate to Evan Min, he'll probably turn around and fight against rich people like us." Lucy burst out laughing. I leaned closer to her ear and whispered, "I'm serious. I need to look out for my own life." 2 years ago, my mother wanted to directly donate 1,000,000 yuan to his family, but he flat out refused, even claiming my family was insulting their dignity. Before, I was also self-righteous, thinking that helping him was the right thing to do, but I didn't consider whether he needed it or not. That was my fault, I was rash. Now I've decided to hold tight to my purse strings and not spread kindness in vain anymore. Done speaking, I lowered my head and continued with my exam. Lucy, sipping her milk tea, rested her chin on her hand, pondering for a long time. During the second homeroom class, the teacher counted the donations for Evan Min, 10,498 yuan. Then he cleared his throat, looking at me with a meaningful glance, and said, "This time the whole class has chipped in to help Evan Min overcome his difficulties. You are all very kind children. It's just that some people who should have donated didn't." At the same time, a cold gaze from the left, near the wall in the front row, shot towards me. It was none other than the recipient of the help, Evan Min. I looked straight at Evan Min, waiting for him to speak, but he remained silent. Our eyes met, then he looked away. I shrugged, not bothering with this indirect communication, packed my books, waited for the bell, and went home. After a balanced dinner, I read for a while, then took a shower and went to bed early. I needed to preserve my health for tomorrow's final exam. Only with enough sleep could I be alert enough to do well and regain my form on the examination battlefield. A week later, the final exam results were announced. I, who had been an average student, climbed to the top 30 in the entire grade and top 5 in the class. Meanwhile, Evan Min, who had consistently been in the top 10 for 2 years, dropped to 100th place. The class buzzed with discussion. "No way! Vivian, who was always last, climbed to the top 30 in the whole grade? Is this a trick? So strange. A jump of 321 points, isn't that cheating?" But someone reminded them, Vivian used to be the city's top scorer in the high school entrance exam. Now that she's used to high school exams, doing well is normal. Her reputation as the top scorer was rumored to be due to connections and buying scores anyway. After all, money can make even ghosts work. Didn't she always have Evan Min tutoring her? Wait a minute, why did Evan Min's scores drop so much? Could it be that he and Vivian switched papers? After all, his family really needs money. At this point, I strongly suggested, let's recheck Vivian's exam scores for this final exam. Otherwise, let her retake the exam alone to prove it. My deskmate, Lucy Snow, defended me. Vivian definitely didn't cheat. In the past 2 months, I've seen her practice at least 2 sets of problems every day. The homeroom teacher, who was already displeased that I hadn't donated money to Evan Min, heard the rumors from students and called me into his office, asking, "Did you cheat?" I answered directly. No, he pressed on. Then prove it. If you didn't cheat, why are your scores higher than Evan Mins, the person who tutored you? Did you secretly pay him for answers and scores because you didn't donate publicly? Rich girls like you always like to show off. I chuckled. Why should I prove it myself? Whoever suspects should provide the evidence, shouldn't they? Sir, you've been a teacher for so many years, taught so many generations of students. I always thought you were a very responsible teacher. But now, I realize you're the kind of responsible person who judges by appearances. Don't make things too difficult for me, and don't show jealousy towards the rich. I maintained my smile. My parents started their business from a street food stall more than 10 years ago. Thanks to government policies, their hard work, and their focus on food quality and service, they achieved what they have today. If you're unhappy, why don't you quit teaching and start a street food business like my parents? You have to admit that some rich people, because they've accumulated wealth, don't have to struggle for a living and have more time and energy to improve themselves and learn. Some rich people have to work many times harder or use their intellect to calculate and exchange for that wealth, and this also requires a lot of knowledge. Don't see the rich as useless people. The rich create wealth, contribute to the national GDP, pay taxes fully, and promote the healthy development of the country. 2 years ago, my family also donated money to the school's education fund. I'm sure you received a lot of subsidies from it, didn't you? Don't benefit and then badmouth us like that. If you still feel uncomfortable, you can read a few more economics books to enlighten yourself. The homeroom teacher was speechless, only able to repeat, "Vivian, you are too rude, you don't respect your teachers." I laughed louder, feeling no need to continue arguing. I turned my back and walked out of the office. But before leaving, I turned back and added, "If you want respect, learn to respect others first. Don't make a big deal out of nothing and wrongly accuse people." As I returned to the classroom, Evan Min was already at my desk and said, "Can we talk outside the classroom?" This was the first time he had actively spoken to me since I was reborn, but his attitude was still as contemptuous as ever. Recalling the scene in my past life where he injected poison into my body, I couldn't help but shiver. I suppressed my hatred, glanced at him, and said, "If you have something to say it here." Evan Min pursed his lips and said, "What benefit have you given my mother? She wants to see you, told you to come to the hospital. But hear me clearly, my mother wanting to see you doesn't mean I accept you. There will never be anything between us, so don't play games, pretending to let go only to catch again." I laughed scornfully. What a joke. I stood up and slapped him hard. "Please stop slandering me, okay? What let go only to catch again game am I playing? I simply stopped paying you high prices to tutor me because I can achieve higher scores than you all by myself. So why would I waste money on a cold-faced person like you? You and I have no possibility. When did I pursue you? When did I confess to you? Have I ever written love letters to you? Have I forced you to be with me? None of that, right? I merely hired you as a tutor for a while. Why are you so self-absorbed? And now it's clear you're begging me. If you want to beg, have the attitude of someone begging. Don't destroy all the reputation and prestige your parents worked so hard to build." Slapped and scolded, Evanman's face flushed red. He looked at me with disbelief. Finally, he yelled, "If you want to come, come. If not, don't. I've delivered the message. Now I have to rely on myself." As he turned away, I looked at his retreating back and shouted, "You scoundrel, you want to be a saint and benefit at the same time, you dog." My desk mate, Lucy Snow, who was sipping her milk tea, suddenly stopped and pulled my arm. "Vivian, calm down, calm down. Anger isn't good for your mammary glands," I snorted. "Not cursing this dog is what affects the health of my mammary glands." However, I knew Lucy was just trying to comfort me. I nodded in agreement and said, "Let's go for hot pot to celebrate our good exam results this time." Lucy, who had climbed from 50th in the grade to 30th, making it into the top 10 of the class, immediately put down her milk tea, quickly packed her books, and pulled me out of the classroom amidst the curious glances and whispers of our classmates. We calmly walked out of school. At the fragrant hot pot restaurant, Lucy Snow and I ravenously ate our favorite dishes we hadn't enjoyed in a long time. Beef tripe, taro, lotus root, vegetables, bamboo shoots, potatoes, and beef balls. Lucy from somewhere produced 2 large milk teas, handed one to me, and said, "Vivian, let's celebrate." I happily took it, raised my cup, and declared, "Cheers to us for making it into the top 30 of the entire grade. Hopefully, next year for the university entrance exam, we'll make it into the top 3, Lucy replied, Cheers to me for quitting snacks, but I'll never give up milk tea. I laughed and continued. Cheers to me for giving up being a holy mother and returning to myself. The two milk teas clinked together, and we both laughed. Cheers to us both having a bright future. A week later, when my mother took me to the city hospital for a checkup, we unexpectedly ran into Evan Min picking up his mother from the hospital. But it wasn't because his mother had recovered. Her condition had worsened due to grief. She suffered central nervous system damage, leading to acute cerebral hemorrhage, and was now chronically paralyzed on one side. If she continued to be hospitalized, she would need daily care and rehabilitation exercises. Last time, in addition to the school's donations, Evan Min had received money from an online fundraising campaign. But after paying off previous debts, that money only lasted for less than 2 weeks. Currently, his family was at rock bottom. For the second time, his family organized another online fundraising campaign, but the number of donors was only a handful. People's patience and kindness sometimes have limits. Evan Min's mother saw my mother and me, trembled as she greeted us, and offered her thanks. She said she knew my family had once donated money to help their family and had taken great care of Evan Min. She said she had wanted to see me at the hospital last time to thank me directly. Hearing that, my heart softened. I didn't understand how such a reasonable and empathetic mother could raise such an arrogant son like Evan Min. She continued, "But my son Evan doesn't want to keep begging for money to treat me. I understand he's a man and men need to save face. I'll go home, sit in a wheelchair, and diligently exercise on my own. I'll wait for him to come home from school or work and he'll take me out for walks. Slowly, things will get better." Hearing her speak, my mother and I exchanged glances, able only to respect and wish her well. Evan Min stood beside her, his right hand covered in bandages. He roughly pushed his mother and my mother away to help his mother onto the bus. Amidst the cold wind, I muttered, "Is this guy sick? Is he trying to dump all his frustration from Yuuki restaurant onto me? I'm the one who should be frustrated. I just made him realize he's nothing special, and I haven't even started torturing him yet." After that, I immediately called the restaurant manager to get an update on the information my family had gathered from Yuuki. In the competitive restaurant business, who doesn't have a few spies in rival restaurants? According to the information gathered, Evan Min had suffered quite a bit while working at Yuuki. First, he didn't receive his 3,500 yuan salary on time, just because he accidentally broke a few dishes. Although those dishes weren't worth much, Yuuki was notorious for demanding employees compensate 3 times the value. Evan Min tried to buy similar dishes to replace them, but he wasn't allowed to, because the general manager said Yuuki's dishes were custom-made and wouldn't accept substitutes. With his sky-high self-esteem, Evan Min couldn't endure this treatment and wanted to ask Luna Turner to return to their previous restaurant to work part-time. But Luna refused, finding washing dishes, cleaning tables, and serving to be equally hard work everywhere. Recently, the secret about Yuuki selling substandard ingredients was leaked. To salvage its image, the owner came up with a gimmick, placing a glass cabinet at the restaurant entrance to demonstrate how their famous stir-fried meat with chili was made. But in reality, it wasn't actual cooking. It just required someone to perform cutting meat and chilies. And to attract customers, the chili cutter had to be a beautiful girl. Fortunately, Luna Turner was quite good-looking. She was also tired of being called around in the restaurant. Sitting in the glass cabinet cutting chilies was a much easier job for her. So, she naturally didn't want to go back to working at the previous restaurant with Evan Min. Moreover, she had offended both the manager and staff at the old restaurant. Going back would only make her a laughingstock. Evan Min couldn't stand the frustration of being bullied. He returned to look for work at his previous restaurant, but this time, all the restaurants he had ever worked at, whether during summer vacation after middle school or before, refused to hire him. The reason the managers gave was no longer enough staff, but a directive from the Wen family restaurant chain not to let Evan Min earn any money from the Wen family's chain, even manual labor. When continuously rejected, Evan Min angrily asked, "You're Wang's restaurant, what do you have to do with the Wen family?" The manager replied, "Sorry, the Wen family is the largest shareholder of Wang's." With no other option, Evan Min returned to Yuuki restaurant, continuing to endure washing dishes, carefully serving, cleaning tables, and scrambling for night shifts just to earn an extra 20 yuan in overtime pay. Yuuki restaurant didn't care who worked for them. For them, full-time or part-time employees were just manual laborers, work or get out. Since the entire city's market was almost monopolized by the Wen family and Yuuki restaurant chains, even a hero would struggle without money. And now, Evan Min realized how difficult it was to earn money. But he had no choice but to spend more time working part-time, because even though his mother was discharged, daily living expenses still required money. Although the local community occasionally provided support, with his pride, Evan Min sometimes accepted, sometimes refused, wanting to prove to his childhood sweetheart, Luna Turner, that he was capable of caring for his mother and, in the future, for her as well. Sadly, Luna Turner only sat in the glass cabinet cutting chilies, looking at him with a helpless gaze. 8 months passed. We entered the final stretch for the university entrance exam. My scores were now consistently in the top 3 of my class and top 10 of the entire grade. Conversely, Evan Min had become the last-place student in his class and the entire grade. His homeroom teacher couldn't believe it. He couldn't accept that his favorite student had declined so much. In his eyes, high school was the time for male students to shine academically. He often said that both university valedictorians in the previous 2 years were male students. But regardless of whether the valedictorian was male or female, everyone had to dedicate time to studying, reviewing, taking exams, and memorizing to achieve good results. In the past 8 months, Evan Min had skipped nearly 200 classes and was absent from over 100 mock exams. He dedicated too little time and effort to his studies, so dropping to the bottom was not surprising. Yet the homeroom teacher still tried to defend him, even suggesting he repeat a year. But Evan Min refused. He calmly stated, "Last month, when my mother was doing rehabilitation exercises at home, she fell and passed away while I was working the night shift. From now on, I can dedicate more time to myself and my studies." Looking at Evan Min's face, which had lost its youthful vigor, his eyes sunken and full of acne, the homeroom teacher couldn't help but feel heartbroken. He could only advise him to study hard to make the most of the remaining time and do his best for the university entrance exam. Evan Min nodded angrily, his eyes seeming to want to strip anyone who stood in his way. However, the university entrance exam results completely awakened him and his homeroom teacher. My scores were 300 points higher than Evan Min's. Lucy Snow and I, just as we had wished during our hot pot meal, both made it into the top 3 of the entire grade. We even achieved top scores in individual subjects. I was the top scorer in literature, and Lucy Snow was the top scorer in math. The overall top scorer was also a female student. Lucy and I quickly filled out our college applications, both applying to top universities in the country. As for Evan Min, his scores were only enough to get into a vocational college in the city. Now, he could not only wash dishes at the same restaurant as Luna Turner, but also attend the same vocational college with her. After graduation, they could even sell roasted sweet potatoes by the roadside together if he wanted. But clearly, Luna Turner didn't want that. When she received her vocational college acceptance, Luna Turner decided to go to Hong Kong to work. She said, "There's no point in girls studying too much. It's best to take advantage of youth, go to Hong Kong to be a model, earn money, and then take some high society training courses. Who knows, I might even have a chance to marry a 7th or 8th tier male celebrity." As for Evan Min, in her eyes now, he was worthless. In my previous life, Evan Min used the exorbitant tutoring fees my family paid to buy all sorts of luxuries for Luna Turner, his childhood sweetheart. But Luna complained that Evan Min didn't have enough time for her. So she turned around and fell in love with the thug from the neighboring school. In this life, Evan Min had plenty of time for her, washing dishes, serving, even sharing an ear of corn. But this time, Luna Turner felt that love couldn't sustain her. She felt that Evan Min wasn't financially capable enough to take care of her, and she didn't want to continue living miserable days filled only with despair. She wanted both love and material wealth, but in both the previous life and this one, Evan Min couldn't provide. So she mocked Evan Min as a foolish, ugly, and naive guy. Very soon after, that naive guy was arrested by the police. The reason for Evan Min's arrest was that a neighbor reported him for murdering his own mother 3 months prior. Evan Min had returned home to care for his mother as usual, feeding her porridge, then helping her lie down to rest. But immediately after, he used a pillow to suffocate her until she stopped breathing. Evan Min's mother struggled and pleaded in vain, but he coldly ignored her until she drew her last breath, then he released his grip. An hour later, he rearranged the scene, faking his mother's death as if she had fallen from her wheelchair. He scattered porridge around to create a false scene, then rushed out to work the night shift. The next morning, upon returning home and confirming his mother was completely stiff, he called emergency services. However, when the paramedics arrived, they confirmed she was deceased and stated it was no longer their responsibility. Evan Min was instructed to contact a funeral home to handle the body. Thus, he avoided all suspicion. Given his family's poverty and his mother's paraplegia, her falling to her death from a wheelchair was not entirely unexpected to outsiders. But I hadn't forgotten. Since being reborn, I had always remembered that I had to take revenge on Evan Min. I didn't just simply make him realize his miserable reality. I also made his vicious nature gradually reveal itself. Killing his own mother was his spontaneous act, but I had carefully found someone to follow and monitor him and eventually became his neighbor, recording video evidence of his crime. Now, not even a vocational college, which he once looked down upon, could he set foot in. In my previous life, Evan Min always claimed to despise wealthy families like mine, but brazenly benefited from the preferential treatment and money we provided. It was those funds that helped him, after his father's death, focus on his studies and self-improvement. My family's money also helped his mother receive the best treatment. Thanks to that, he passed the entrance exam to a prestigious university. But even though he benefited so much, he still resented me, believing I had hindered his love. How ridiculous. He could have completely refused all help from my family, but why didn't he? After killing me, he even went to various universities looking for a girl who was 70% similar to Luna Turner to turn her into a substitute, making up for his romantic regrets. Perhaps fate was too kind to those who were both reckless and shameless. In my previous life, after my death, Evan Min still found love and money repeatedly. Meanwhile, fate was unfair to good people, letting them be exploited and taken advantage of, whether poor or rich, healthy or sick. So my friends, don't be too kind. The ancient saying, good people are often bullied by others, is truly the truth. This life, I vow not to be a holy mother. Instead, I will embark on a journey of revenge against Evan Min, making his life worse than death. In September-autumn, as Lucy Snow and I were studying at a prestigious university in Beijing, joining clubs and competing in debates, Evan Min was held in the city detention center and brought to public trial. At the preliminary hearing, Evan Min initially pleaded guilty, but as soon as he heard the life sentence, he suddenly recanted, tears streaming down his face, declaring himself not guilty. He claimed that the video provided by the neighbor had been edited, and someone was deliberately trying to frame him. He also accused the police station of coercing his confession. After that, he changed his testimony multiple times, using a movie he had once watched as an excuse to claim he had only accidentally made a mistake. In the movie, a relative who had long cared for a patient suffocated the patient with a pillow, then committed suicide. Evan Min said he had once thought of doing the same but ultimately couldn't bring himself to do it. He had dropped out of school, working day and night, only wishing his mother could live better. How could he kill his own mother? He also said, "My youth is still long, why would I destroy my own future? I can admit I'm not excellent, but I am definitely a kind person. I wouldn't even dare to kill a chicken." Evan Min admitted that when he saw his mother die, he felt relieved because he was too exhausted, but he also believed his mother would feel liberated. Patients are tired too, aren't they? And now she can reunite with my father. However, to convict, 3 elements are needed: evidence, witnesses, physical evidence, and the defendant's confession. Currently, there is only evidence, witnesses, and physical evidence, but Evan Min's mother's body had been cremated and could not be examined. Without a confession, the case could not be concluded, so the file was suspended for further investigation. On social media, the incident sparked fierce debate. Clearly, this is a case of malignant narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, with antisocial tendencies and a performance that is too similar to Old Mo's recent case, to the point that the defense sounds copied. I'm Evan Min's high school classmate. He's truly regrettable. In school, he was outstanding, both a top student and a heartthrob. But fate was too unfair to him. Poor family, losing his father, his mother seriously ill, all pushed him to the brink. The comment above is just sophistry, Poverty is never reason to kill. If that were the case, half the world would kill people and be forgiven, right? Don't forget that after his father passed away, his family received a lot of aid and donations. Instead of trying, he destroyed himself. The most pitiful person is his mother, who was killed by her own son. It's truly incomprehensible. At the trial, Evan Min recanted his initial confession. He claimed he was coerced at the police station, and the video provided by the neighbor was fake. Someone had deliberately fabricated it to frame him. He then cited various inconsistent reasons to defend himself, including watching a movie with a similar plot. At this point, I decided to act. I bribed the family of a prisoner serving a life sentence for murder to exert pressure on Evan Min in prison. There's an unwritten rule in prison that criminals who commit rape, domestic violence, murder of relatives, or snitch on accomplices will be brutally tortured. As soon as someone initiated it, Evan Min, with the charge of matricide, was already despised by other inmates. His recanting his testimony in court only fueled their resentment. The inmate I hired, inmate Wang, who already hated those who killed relatives, targeted Evan Min directly. For 68 days before the appellate trial, Evan Min was continuously tortured in prison. When on the exercise yard, he was tied up by other inmates and buried in the ground. When he slept, he was beaten black and blue and forced to drink urine. When he ate, his food was always snatched away, leaving him constantly hungry. Initially, he tried to report to the guards, but after each report, he was beaten more brutally. By the appellate trial, Evan Min's psyche had completely collapsed. He finally admitted to killing his mother and described the crime in detail. However, he pleaded that if he had to serve a life sentence, he wished to be transferred to another prison. The judge coldly replied, given that the defendant changed his plea in the preliminary hearing, showing an insincere attitude toward pleading guilty and causing significant waste of time, manpower, and social resources, the appellate hearing will not uphold the life sentence. The final verdict will be decided in the next trial. Hearing this, Evan Min collapsed to the ground, his face pale, and he fainted on the spot. In November, Beijing welcomed its first snowfall. Lucy Snow and I planned to book tickets to visit the Forbidden City for photos, but tickets were sold out. We settled for a Peking duck restaurant opposite the Forbidden City, enjoying the snow and Peking duck. After finishing half a duck and drinking half a glass of milk tea, we heard the news that Evan Min had been sentenced to death in the final trial, with a 2-year reprieve. Before I could say anything, Lucy Snow indignantly spoke up. A death sentence with a reprieve isn't really death, is it? Evan Min killed his own mother. This is exactly like the Wu Mu case. Won't he eventually have his sentence commuted to life imprisonment and then reduced again? Unbelievable. The online community also erupted. No way. I heard Evan Min received leniency because his father was a hero firefighter, but his mother was also his father's legal wife. He's a demon who kills his own family. Please, for the safety of society, deal with this decisively. If Evan Min isn't executed immediately, there's a risk of similar cases happening, creating a series of copycat criminals. Who would dare to have children then? Not only raising children who don't care for you in old age, but also worrying about being killed by your own children. Surely, online, there will be a question. What does it feel like to be killed by your own child? Top answer: wait until I'm dead, then I'll answer. Right now, I'm busy figuring out how to stay alive and defend myself. I drank the last of my milk tea, smiling at Lucy Snow. It's okay, he will die, perhaps even heaven can't stand it. Lucy Snow clasped her hands in prayer. I hope so. Less than half a year later, Evan Min was convicted of intentional grievous bodily harm for severely beating a fellow inmate. According to the law, committing a crime during a death sentence reprieve results in immediate execution. What was Evan Min's reason for intentionally beating the inmate? Perhaps he could no longer tolerate the provocations and torture from the other inmates. Or perhaps he truly wanted to kill, just as he brazenly killed his own mother, or as he killed me in my previous life. Whether in the previous life or this one, Evan Min was still a cruel person, but this life, he had to pay the price. During our final hot pot meal of the year, Lucy Snow and I received news that Evan Min had been executed. We heard that his death was particularly gruesome. He refused lethal injection, opting for a firing squad, but when led to the execution ground, he tried to flee, causing the soldiers to shoot repeatedly, turning him into a sieve. We also heard an interesting story. A week before his execution, Evan Min requested to meet Luna Turner to transfer ownership of his family's old house to her. He said that whether she lived in it or sold it, he hoped to make up for what she hadn't had 2 years ago. Typical performative personality. Even before death, he couldn't forget his dramatic act. But Luna Turner flat out refused, even cursing him as bad luck. She was now settled in a high society training class, ready to conquer a famous B-list actor. What use was a murderer like Evan Min and his house to her? We looked at each other, smiled, raised our milk teas, and offered congratulations. Lucy Snow said, "Cheers to a wide-open future. Thank you for surviving safely and working hard for another year. Thank you for living in a just society with clear laws, rewards, and punishments. And thank you in advance for the coming new year. Our country will surely be prosperous and have bountiful harvests." I added, "Thank you to myself for preserving my life throughout the past year and for protecting the health of my mammary glands. Thank you to my parents for being safe and healthy. I hope next year they can retire early and enjoy traveling everywhere. And finally, thank you to the system for giving me the opportunity to be reborn. I hope next year I will achieve even more, perhaps serving as a model for a perfect report. After all, my reincarnation mission has been perfectly completed." It seems my little system heard my New Year's Eve wishes. The system sent me the 2023 year-end report, smooth sailing for rebirth and revenge. Dear Reborn Vivian, in the past year, you protected yourself and your mammary glands 789 times. For example, you walked on the right side of the road, crossed at crosswalks with traffic lights without looking at your phone. When you got cold rashes, you promptly saw a doctor, took medicine, and supplemented with vitamin C when you caught a cold. You knew to rest and get IV fluids. But your most commendable achievement was avoiding assassination by the murderer Evan Min. You foresaw the danger and promptly distanced yourself from him, leaving him no opportunity to harm you. This year, you refused moral imposition 457 times. For example, you ignored your high school homeroom teacher's hypocritical request to donate money to Evan Min, just as you refused the year before. You also did not tolerate being cut in line, and when you were scolded by the parents of misbehaving children, you immediately recorded it and reported it to the police. Additionally, you firmly rejected the behavior of your university classmates when they demanded free meals at your family's restaurant after eating and drinking to their fill. You did great. Keep up that spirit this year. This year, what you did the most was curse people. Before, cursing made you seem petty, but now you curse people only because they deserve it. Do you remember December 20th? That was a special day. The person who killed you in your previous life finally received his just punishment. That day, you ate 2 hot pot meals in a row, read your thanks to the system and yourself until midnight. You lay down in bed and cried, soaking your pillow. I know you were crying for every hard day of revenge after rebirth. I know you feared it was all just a dream. I know you worried that Evan Min might harm your parents and friends. When everything calmed down that night, you cried tears of both joy and disbelief. Thank yourself every day because you are truly amazing. You escaped a terrifying demon. As you said, you protected your life and also protected your mammary glands. You are truly admirable. According to incomplete statistics, in the past year, to achieve high scores in the university entrance exam, you completed an additional 307 practice test sets. You memorized Chushi Bio, Memorial on Going to War, 99 times, and had sleepless nights for 66 days. You and Lucy Snow drank 33 cups of milk tea, ate 88 hot pot meals, 16 barbecue meals, and 100 servings of Vietnamese savory pancakes. You once vowed 123 times not to eat high-calorie foods, but only kept it for 1 week. This year, you learned how to practice kindness without turning yourself into a holy mother. True kindness is helping the vulnerable, like rescuing stray cats and dogs, assisting the elderly, weak, and sick, donating to girls in remote areas, or reasonably helping relatives around you. But if you are unable to do so, you don't need to blame yourself. Not harming others is also a benevolent act. People are not only morally imposed upon by society, but also bind themselves with wrong views, unrealistic expectations, and personal vanity. Learn to let go, because if you overdo it, kindness will become holy mother behavior, leading to negative consequences. Minor ones causing yourself distress, major ones endangering yourself. Your keyword for 2023 is going wild. Keep up this passion in the coming days.